Okay, just think about how often you tap your phone to pay for stuff these days. Maybe grabbing some street food or buying something online. Digital payments are just everywhere, especially here in India.
Oh, absolutely. It's kind of amazing when you stop and think about it, the sheer number of payments happening, like every single second.
And right smack in the middle of all that change in India is UPI, Unified Payments Interface.
Hmm.
So we've got this stack of sources. We've really dug into one document especially, tracing UPI's whole story, from the start, where it is now, the huge successes and the, let's be honest, real frustrations people still have,
Yeah.
and then looking at where it's headed.
Yeah, and that's our plan for this deep dive, really, to unpack that journey. We'll look at the history, the impact, get into the nitty-gritty of the limits and the hiccups, and then peek into the future, all based on the material we've looked at.
Exactly. It should be a good exploration, hopefully pulling out some key insights, maybe a few aha moments for you listening. So let's dive in.
Let's do it.
So first things first, at its, base level, what is UPI? How did it start?
Okay, so UPI, it's basically a real-time payment system developed by the National Payments Corporation of India, NPCI. Its main job, letting you send money instantly, bank account to bank account, mostly using your phone.
And one key thing the material really stresses is how it kind of rolled up multiple banking things, routing funds, paying shops, sending money to friends, all into one single app.
Yeah, and that consolidation, that was honestly a game changer, especially for India. Before UPI, mobile banking felt fragmented.
Not totally.
Yeah.
Different apps for different banks.
Exactly, and separate ways to pay a person versus a merchant. You needed account numbers, IFSC codes. It was clunky. UPI created this one pretty intuitive interface, linked straight to your bank account. Using something simple like your mobile number or a VPA, a virtual payment address, it just massively lowered the barrier, made digital payments feel possible for millions more people, even if they weren't comfortable with, like, all the traditional banking jargon.
That simplification really explains a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did it get from this neat idea to, well, this huge thing it is now? Let's walk through that history, 2016 up to maybe 2025, based on the sources.
Right, so the official launch date was April 11th, 2016. The RBI governor at the time, Raghuram Rajan, inaugurated it.
Started small though, right? Only about 21 banks at the beginning.
Yeah, initially. And quite early on, NPCI launched the BHI app. That was a deliberate push, to drive adoption, give people a sort of official basic option. And that first version, UPI 1.0, it was really focused on getting the core stuff working. Person-to-person, P2P, and person-to-merchant, P2M, payments.
Then things started picking up pace. Around 2018, 2019, UPI 2.0 came along.
Exactly right. August 2018. And 2.0 brought in more, let's say, advanced features. Things like linking an overdraft account, setting up one-time mandates for future payments, getting invoices right in the app, and better security with signed intent and QR codes.
Okay, those sound like they make it useful for more than just simple transfers, like that one-time mandate. What does that actually let you do?
Oh, right. Think of it like pre-authorizing a payment. So say you're signing up for a subscription or booking something where you pay later. You could approve it once up to a certain limit, and the payment just happens automatically when it's due. No need to manually approve it again later. Added a lot of flexibility.
Gotcha. And this period, this is when the big third-party apps really jumped in, right?
Mm-hmm.
PhonePe, Google Pay, Paytm, the ones most of us use. The material calls them accelerators.
Oh, massive accelerators. They had huge user bases already, big marketing budgets. They pushed UPI into the mainstream, made it feel unavoidable almost. And you see it in the numbers. By October 2019, just think about that, UPI crossed 1 billion transactions in a single month.
1 billion a month.
Yeah.
After just over 3 years. Wow. What's the significance of hitting that number?
Well, hitting 1 billion, it wasn't just, a nice round number. It was proof. Proof that this wasn't just some tech experiment. It showed UPI was becoming part of daily life for a massive number of people, that the infrastructure could actually handle that kind of volume, and that people were changing how they paid because it was easy and it worked. It basically validated the whole model at scale.
And then, just as it hit that stride,
Yeah.
the world changed. 2020, 2021, the pandemic.
Yeah. COVID just instantly created this huge demand for contactless payments. People didn't want to handle cash. UPI was just there, perfectly positioned. And usage exploded, especially for all those little everyday payments, like you said, where cash used to be king.
To the point where by December 2021, monthly transactions were over 4.5 billion. More than quadrupled.
Incredible surge. And even during that chaos, NPCI was starting to look outwards. The material mentions early cross-border trials starting up with Bhutan and Singapore.
Which leads us nicely into 2022, 2023. Looks like a phase of sort of maturing the system and really focusing globally.
Definitely. And a cute innovation here was UPI Lite, launched in 2022.
Yes, UPI Lite. That's the offline one, right? Tackling that internet problem. How does that actually work?
So UPI Lite is designed exactly for that small payments when you don't have a connection. You load a bit of money, the material says up to 2,000 total, into this sort of virtual on-device wallet within your main UPI app. Then you can make small payments up to 500 each without needing the internet right at that moment. The transaction happens offline, gets synced up later. It's a direct shot at that network issue in patchy areas.
Makes sense. And meanwhile, internationally, NPCI was forging more partnerships.
Yeah, absolutely. The source list links with Singapore's PayNow, the UAE, France, UK, Bhutan, Nepal. Busy time. Plus, we saw RuPay credit cards getting linked to UPI, another layer of convenience.
And the numbers just kept climbing. Past 10 billion monthly transactions in August 2023.
Yeah, I mean, going from 1 billion in late 2019 to over 10 billion just 4 years later.
What does that tell us, that kind of acceleration?
It tells you UPI wasn't just growing, it hit like hyperspeed adoption. It became the way to pay digitally in India, not just for online stuff, but for everything. Big shops, tiny street vendors, everyone. It signals this fundamental shift in how a huge population deals with money day to day.
Which brings us pretty much up to now, 2024, 2025. The material describes it as consolidation plus new innovations.
We saw, hello, UPI launch, voice payments supporting different Indian languages.
Voice payments, that feels pretty futuristic. Who's that really aimed at helping?
Well, the material specifically calls out older people and maybe those who aren't super comfortable navigating apps on a smartphone, letting them use simple voice commands in their own language. It just lowers that tech barrier even more, trying to bring everyone in. And AI-driven conversational payments are part of that same push.
And it's getting deeper into finance too, right? Not just payments.
Yeah, things like interoperability with credit lines, digital lending starting to happen on the UPI rails, and more countries coming online, Sri Lanka, Mauritius, some Gulf countries now too.
What an incredible story so far. Okay, let's pivot slightly and talk about the actual impact. All this scale, 12 billion transactions a month, expected by mid-2025, 400-plus banks and fintechs. What has it actually achieved?
Well, the big things highlighted are boosting financial inclusion, helping small businesses digitize, drastically cutting down cash usage, and just providing the super smooth, low-cost way to pay.
Okay, let's connect that back for someone listening.
Yeah.
Why are those things inclusion, helping small vendors, less cash? Why are they such a big deal for India's economy?
Oh, they're massive. In an economy as big and diverse as India's, with varying levels of, digital access and traditional banking, these aren't just nice to haves, they're core economic enablers. Financial inclusion pulls more people into the formal system, gives them access to savings, maybe credit down the line. Digitizing small businesses helps them compete, potentially grow. Reducing cash costs, makes things more transparent. And a low-cost payment system just makes commerce flow better for everyone. It's foundational.
That really paints a picture of the positive side. But, and there's usually a but with systems this huge, it hasn't been all smooth sailing. The material's pretty upfront about the limitations, the real-world snags people hit. Okay, let's unpack those bumps in the road.
Yeah, definitely important to cover. One clear area is transaction limits. There's a standard limit, usually 1 lakh per go, though the source does mention exceptions like up to 2 lakh or even Mr. 5 lakh for things like IPOs or insurance premiums.
And a daily cap, too.
Right. Mostly, it seems, banks limit you to either 20 transactions a day or that euro 1 lakh total value, whichever comes first. But it can vary a bit. And UPI Lite, as we said, has its own smaller limits. 500 payment, 2,000 added in the wallet, designed for offline.
Why do these limits exist?
Yeah.
The material doesn't spell it out fully, but what's the likely reason? Security. System load.
It's probably a mix of both and pretty standard for payment systems worldwide. Limits help reduce the damage if, say, someone's account gets compromised, they can't drain a huge amount instantly. And yes, managing system load. Imagine the strain if there were no limits on a network handling billions of transactions. It's about balancing usability with stability and security for the whole network.
Makes sense. Okay, another big one. Needing internet or network signal.
Oh yeah, this is a core challenge. Full-fat UPI needs data. So if you're somewhere with bad signal, remote area, basement, crowded stadium, it might just fail.
And while UPI Lite and the old 999 tag dial-up service exist to help, the material suggests they aren't used nearly as much as the main apps.
Right. And that really highlights the infrastructure challenge, doesn't it? The digital service relies on the physical network being there and being reliable.
Oh, the dreaded server or bank downtime. I think we've all felt that pain.
Yes. A very common frustration mentioned. Problems can happen anywhere. NPCI's end, your bank, the receiver's bank. And that horrible situation where the money leaves your account but doesn't land immediately, that's usually this. The source says the auto refund typically takes 3 to 5 days, which feels like forever when it's your money.
It really shows how many pieces have to work perfectly together for one simple transaction.
Totally. And the material notes that things get worse on holidays or during peak hours. More traffic, more congestion, more timeouts. Predictable, but still annoying.
Then there are the apps themselves. Glitches, bugs.
Yep. Individual apps, Google Pay, PhonePe, whatever you use can have their own issues. UI acting weird, slow processing, bugs after an update. Even just scanning a QR code can fail sometimes if the lighting's bad or your camera's acting up.
And we can't forget security risks and just human error, especially when you're out and about.
Definitely. The material flags things like shoulder surfing, someone watching you type your PI, fake QR codes planted by scammers. Or just simple mistakes under pressure, typing the wrong amount, wrong UPI ID. And that specific one, accidentally approving a collect request, thinking it's a payment notification. Easy mistake to make if you're rushed.
That raises a good point. Looking at all these issues, how much is the system itself versus, well, us users messing up?
It's a mix, for sure. The system has inherent dependencies, network, servers, especially under heavy load. Those are system vulnerabilities. But the material makes it clear that user actions or maybe lack of caution, like not double-checking a QR code or reading a request properly, also cause a lot of problems, especially in busy public places. So yeah, system robustness matters, but so does user awareness and just being careful.
The source also briefly mentions interoperability delays sometimes between different kinds of wallets or banks.
Yeah, while generally smooth between banks, it hints that sometimes transactions involving non-bank players using the UPI rails might be a bit slower or have occasional syncing issues.
And finally, there are those real-world non-tech hurdles, behavioral stuff, infrastructure gaps.
Right, like a shopkeeper just refusing UPI if their network's down, or even during a big rush because cash feels faster to them. And the basic fact that not everyone has a smartphone capable of running these apps, feature phones, older models, that still excludes people.
If the goal is truly universal reach, what does that last category tell us about the challenge?
It tells us it's not just about the tech, it's about the underlying infrastructure, reliable power, consistent network everywhere. It's about device access. And sometimes it's about changing habits, both for users and merchants. The digital divide is still a real thing. So yeah, summing up those limitations, we've got transaction caps, the internet dependency, potential bank app downtime, security risks, device issues, and the specific UPI Lite restrictions. Quite a list despite the success.
Definitely food for thought. Okay, so that's the present, warts and all. Let's look forward now. What are the future goals outlined in the material for UPI, say 2025 and beyond? It sounds like the ambition is massive, not just growth in India, but becoming a global player. What's next?
Ambition is definitely the word. First off, just sheer volume. The target mentioned is getting to over 20 billion transactions a month in the next few years.
20 billion. And pushing hard into those areas it hasn't fully reached yet. Rural India, Tier 3 towns.
Exactly. Really doubling down on things like UPI Lite and voice payments to bridge those gaps. The ultimate goal seems to be making UPI the absolute default way to pay for basically everyone everywhere in India.
And the global vision seems huge, too.
Oh, yeah. It's all about interoperability with payment systems overseas, adding way more partner countries for things like tourism, sending money home, remittances, even business-to-business payments across borders. And a specific focus mentioned is making it easy for NRI's non-resident Indians to use UPI platforms to send money directly back to India.
We mentioned voice payments launching. The plan is to really scale that up.
Seems so. Expanding hello, UPI, adding more regional languages, making the AI conversational stuff smarter so you can do more complex things just by talking to it. And again, explicitly targeting older users, less tech-savvy folks. It's that inclusion goal popping up again.
And this idea of integrating more financial services seems central to the future plan.
Absolutely. This is where UPI aims to become much more than just payments. The material discusses enabling things like accessing credit lines directly through UPI, expanding RuPay credit card use on UPI, adding options for paying in EMIs, getting small loans, maybe even buying insurance, all within the UPI app interface, and even using UPI rails to regulate digital lending activities.
So UPI stops being just the pipes for money movement and
Yeah.
becomes more like a financial hub?
That's a perfect way to describe it. It's like they built these amazing, widely used payment rails, and now the strategy is to run all sorts of other financial services on top of them, making those services potentially much more accessible to ordinary people.
Of course, with more complexity comes more risk. So beefing up security is still a major goal.
Has to be, especially with that scale and value. They're looking at better real-time fraud detection using AI and machine learning, developing tech like tamper-proof QR codes, dynamic payment links, enhancing how users give consent, and even exploring things like biometric authentication for your UPI PIN, maybe facial recognition or fingerprint linked via Aadhaar.
More security layers sound pretty crucial if it's handling loans and credit lines.
No doubt. And tackling that network problem head-on is key too. Widespread rollout of offline options like UPI Lite and NFC Tap to Pay is a big focus. Plus, improving the old 99 tag USSD service better UI, more languages for those really low connectivity zones.
What about businesses supporting MSMEs and e-commerce?
Yeah, deepening UPI's role there too. Things like helping with supply chain finance, making vendor payments easier, maybe integrating with e-invoicing. For online shopping, making checkout smoother with recurring payments via UPI AutoPay, and providing better tools like APIs for businesses to adopt UPI for their own B2B needs.
And the last piece mentioned is quite interesting, using UPI data for personal finance management and even credit scoring.
Right. The vision is for UPI apps to evolve into smart money managers, helping you track spending automatically, maybe setting up automated savings, giving you budget alerts based on your payment habits. And potentially, and this is a big one, using all that transaction data, with your permission, of course, to build a credit profile for people or small businesses who don't have one through traditional means. That could unlock formal credit for so many who are currently excluded.
Wow, using your payment history to build a credit score.
Yeah.
That's clever. Could really move the needle on financial access.
So yeah, to quickly summarize those future goals, huge increases in volume and access, major global integration, big push on voice-based UPI, much deeper financial services integration, better security, robust offline payments, strong support for MSMEs e-commerce, and those smart personal finance features, including that credit scoring potential.
Okay, so we've traced this incredible, almost breakneck evolution of UPI, looked at its massive scale today, and peered into its really ambitious future, all drawn from the material we examined.
And if you're listening and you use digital payments in India or maybe increasingly when traveling, this system is probably woven into your daily routine now. Understanding the journey, how it started, why it grew so fast, the real challenges it still faces day to day, and where it wants to go next, it gives you a much richer picture than just, tapping pay or scanning that QR code.
It really does. And thinking about it, all this super fast innovation, the global dreams, layered on top of the very real present-day headaches we discussed. The network drops, the server issues, the security worries, making sure everyone can use it easily. Kind of leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What's the biggest hurdle for UPI going forward? Is it building that complex, globe-spanning, all-singing, all-dancing financial platform of the future? Or is it actually perfecting the basics now, making sure it's rock-solid, reliable, totally secure, and dead simple for every single person, no matter their phone, their network, or how tech-savvy they are? Which of those needs the most urgent focus? Something to think about.